Loud.
We're
And
recording. We are
here we
clouding.
go. Mm-hmm.
We're Facebooking. We're Zooming. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hello and welcome to episode 43 of the Georgie and Patty Show.
Georgie.
I'm Patty. Oh, hey, we're getting better at that.
We are.
Today is Monday, so it must be time to talk motivation. Uh, our Georgie and I have been having these conversations around aspiration and about having big dreams and big plans and um, having this vision having a vision um, that's big and exciting and having a mission that we are part of. Um, Something that's bigger than our businesses, bigger than ourselves. Um, about getting in touch with your purpose and all of that. So you can look forward to a whole lot more of that this week. Our quote from the our quote for the day: "Far away there in the sunshine are my highest aspirations. I may not reach them, but I can look up and see their beauty, believe in them, and try to follow where they lead." And that is Louisa May Alcott. Um, and with that, I will turn this meeting over to Georgie, who has all kinds of awesomeness to share with you today.
So good. And before we start, I know that it is Memorial Day for our fellow people in the United States. So as a USer myself, happy Memorial Day, and a little special, I guess, thank you to all those people who did what they did to make your country safe and free. Come from a family of people who have been involved in the military and do some volunteering in that space. So happy Memorial Day to our American listeners. So, yes, I have lots to share today, which is exciting. And I love your quote. Hey, look, I'm going to share my screen to get this party started. I always have to move my thing. All right, got it? Can you
Excellent.
see? I see. All right. Georgie and Patty show. There's me and Patty. It always makes me smile when I see it. So I love it. It is Motivation Monday. And today I'm kind of going to share some stuff about getting back to fundamentals in your business, which we talked about on Friday, and then the action we can take from that space of fundamentals. Because I think Monday is a great day to get motivated and start doing stuff. I love this quote by Thomas Edison. Opportunity is missed because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. And I think so often we are in the society we're in today, and maybe we're kind of led to believe it a little bit, but that we're looking for the shortcut, the easy way, that, how can I do this without doing so much work? And even in the conversation Patty and I were having before the call today, I think for those of us who are on the call and the clients that we work with, we love our work. We're really passionate about this thing that we do and the difference it can make in the world. So we're not doing this so that we can just hurry up and make money and stop working and escape it. It's very much part of who we are. So we're really willing to, put on our overalls and do what needs to be done to do more of it. It's not about the escaping of it. So when we think about this, and I think about the quote that you shared in the beginning, it is about looking at this thing that's very aspirational for us. It's something really, really great that we want to do, and that we want to be in it for a really, really long time. I really believe that, there's no such thing as kind of this overnight breakthrough, and then it's just going to overnight success, follow these 4 steps, load up your funnel, boom, you're successful. I don't believe that's the reality. I think we have to be willing to be in this thing for a while. And, that could be days, weeks, months, years, but we are in it to keep learning, growing, evolving as much for ourselves as to bring this work into the world and make a difference. And so when we do that, it is about working hard and smart. I'm not sure when hard work or working hard became a bad word, but I'm going to put it back into this thing because that's the reality. Sometimes it is really hard and we have to do a lot of different things, and we can be smart about what we do. We have to care about what you do. Want to create stuff that's valuable, that's not just something you put a little bit of thought into and threw together because no one's going to read it anyway. It's just my lead magnet. But really care about every piece of thing of content that you're putting out there. And then I think for the people we work with, it really is about developing mastery of ourselves, mastery of our work, mastery of our thoughts and ideas. So we're always in that space of learning and growing to be able to bring to the world the best and most valuable information we can. So that's why it's really important to like what you do and not just pick something because someone told you were good at it. But what are the things that you're really interested in, the things that you really like or love that you want to pursue? So the permission slip I'm going to give you today is that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to spend some time on creating things like your assessment if you work with us. It's okay to put some thought into the stuff you want to put out into the world, and there's that balance piece of not getting so stuck in it that you never actually move forward and put anything out there. But it is okay to take a breath, and want to create something that is valuable, and it maybe doesn't happen tomorrow, but you are writing it. You are actually taking action. And as we move through this, we're going to talk a little bit about what's the difference in being in motion and actually being in action. There's tons of things out there that we call these little cheat codes. We're always looking for the hack or the cheat code or what's going to make this thing easier for me. And the reality is the cheat codes, they're there. They're often the most obvious thing you can do. They're usually even quite simple. And most of us don't actually want to do them. And I think a lot of these so-called cheat codes, they come down to the fundamentals. And the fundamentals are these things that we apply consistently over and over and over again without distraction. And they are typically, like I say, the things that we want to avoid. But they are the building blocks. They are simple. And simple doesn't often mean easy. And sometimes I think the things that make our fundamentals a little challenging is not the task itself, but it's often ourselves. It's the mental thoughts that start happening, the chatter, like, eek, I don't know I can do that. This means I'm putting myself out there. But the fundamentals don't change, and they're not actually hard to do. But we often want to start hiding behind what I would call the things that seem complex. We like to make simple things complex, or we like to look for things that can create some complexity because it's going to take us longer to get out there. So things like funnels and the perfect social media calendar and what I'm going to post, my campaigns, all the technology that's going to be required to get this information out there and really build my business. A lot of times I really believe we're ignoring fundamentals and we're hiding behind these things. These things are stopping us from sharing our message with the world. They're stopping us from getting clients. They're stopping us from really, stepping into the amazingness that we are and getting our work out there, getting feedback from people, working with clients to see, does this thing work? How can I change it? How can I adjust it? How can I make this more valuable? Because if we're sitting there waiting for the perfect website, for the perfect funnel, assuming that the funnel's going to bring people to us without doing any of this kind of fundamental work, the reality, in my opinion, is that we're probably just hiding. It's a nice disguise that I can hide behind. I love, James Clear actually did a thing on Twitter, a tweet, I guess you would call it, about the difference between motion and action. And I'm like, oh, this is so perfect. This is exactly what I need for today. I love it. And I love it when things show up like this. So when he talks about motion, it's like, okay, I'm going to talk to a personal trainer. I'm going to research my book idea. I'm going to explore some different types of meditation. Maybe I'll look at some website themes. I'm going to think about what I'm going to put on my homepage. I'll think about this kind of assessment I'm going to create. But then when it comes to action, the action would actually be, if I want to get healthy or get more strong, I'm going to do 10 squats. I'm going to write one sentence. I'm going to meditate for 1 minute. I'm actually going to do something. You know, I'm going to write the first draft of my assessment. I'm going to create the draft of my email that I'm going to send out to people to invite them to work with me. I'm going to make a phone call to somebody who might be able to help me. So quite often though, the motion feels like progress because we are doing something and it feels like we're you know, that we're getting somewhere. But the truth of the matter is it's the action that is really progress, right? I could talk to 10 different personal trainers over a month. If I would just do 10 squats every day for that month, I would get some kind of results, something I could actually see. If I was going to start writing one sentence even a day, eventually I would have some kinds of thoughts and things I might be able to turn into something instead of just doing a whole bunch of online research. Even though those things are important, I'm not saying you ignore those things. It's just let's not confuse those things with actually taking action to get the results we want. Necessary, and often we don't move to the action part because we think we're doing things, but it's really just these motion pieces. So then the question is, what do we take action on? What are the things we actually do? And I think this is one of the questions I hear a lot from people that I've worked with and clients and running masterminds and boot camps and all those kinds of things is, but I don't know what to do. What do I actually do every day? I'm not sure. And this is where we start doing the busy work and being in motion, but not taking action on things that are going to move us forward, to get results in our business as well as the other areas of our life. So I've got something to share with you today that's kind of like, it is an exercise if you choose to do it, and something that's made a big difference for myself and my clients when they choose to do this. So another Brad Stulberg, you guys know, one of my faves, one of his quotes, you can't do what matters most if everything matters most. And this is why striving for balance can be an unfulfilling trap. In order to say yes to what actually matters, you've got to say no to a lot of other stuff. And so this comes down to what I like to call my buckets. What buckets am I running in my life? What are the buckets of things that I'm going to focus my attention on so that I know what opportunities to take? I know what things to do. But if I'm not clear what my buckets are, I'm running all over the place saying yes to a gazillion different things. And then I'm overwhelmed and I'm not actually moving forward in the things that really matter to me, like doing the work I believe I'm in the world to do, speaking to the people that might actually benefit from that and actually, you know, get help from it. And I'm doing things where I'm probably not even the best person to be doing those things, but I'm saying yes because somebody asked me to, and I don't want to be a bad person. But if I'm clear on my buckets, it makes my decision making a whole lot easier. So what I did and what I've done with my clients is I kind of have this list of things to figure out what really matters most to me. So I take this list, I cut it up into little squares, and on each square is one of these things. And then I order these things in list of priority for me. And the interesting thing that often happens is when I've created my list, I'm like, okay, these are the things that really matter to me. These are the things that are most important. And then I look at my life right now and I'm like, oh, if I were to be like a detective and I was looking from the outside in into my own life, is this what this list would look like? If someone was creating a priority list based on being a detective and getting a bird's eye view of my life, what would they say are the priorities? And often what happens, and when I did this, I had like my relationships with my kids and people was number one when I created what's most important. And when I actually looked at my life, I was like, ew, I'm not actually spending very much time there at all. I'm thinking that I am, but the reality is I'm not. So if I'm saying that's most important, what can I do to actually make that true instead of just a really nice thought? So it's a really great idea, like I say, to line them up in priority and then take a look at your life and see if that's true. Some things were, of course, there. But when I look at my buckets, they weren't really lined up so well. And then what I did is I created my own titles for these because that's what I do. So these were my buckets for my relationships, my career, which is my work, my health, my self-learning, and then I do have another money bucket. So I took these things, I put them in order, and then what I did was I did some journaling, and then I created a little document that looks something like this. And in my world, everything always seems to lead with purpose. Like no matter what, it always starts there. That is the thing that is pulling me, that is driving me. When I need it, it's there. So I've got my purpose, I've got my values, I know what those action steps are, and then I have my different buckets. And with that, I wrote, what do these things mean to me? And this is very, 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 very individual. So like for me, my relationships, it's that quality time to nurture connections and have fun. At this point, there is no significant other there, so he's off the list. But my relationship with myself is really, really important. So how can I, with that, it's about acceptance and self-love for me. My kids, what would that be like? Right? One-on-one time, listening, supporting. My family, my friends. And then when I look at my work, so what's the reason for the work that I want to do in the world? Right? It's helping people create the lives and the businesses that they really, really, really want and being able to get their messages out there. So now that's the 10K work that Patty and I do together. We've got our programs and then one-on-one work that we do. We've got the leadership lifestyle expedition that I'm doing with my other partner, Levin. And then we have the Georgie and Patty show. So these are kind of my focus points within my work. Makes it a bit easier. I do the same thing for all my other buckets, right? Why are these things important to me? I have this on a sheet. It's right beside my desk so I can look at it every day. I added little visual icons to it because I realized, oh, I really like picture things. So now they get pictures. They're highlighted in colors, which of course then translate to that desktop calendar I was telling you about. So at a glance, I can see how well I'm doing in all my different buckets as I go through my days. Oops, move forward. There we go. So now, how do I take those things and break them down to what am I going to do daily? What am I going to do weekly? What am I going to do monthly, quarterly, annually? So that then I actually have the action steps that I can take. As I mentioned to you on Friday, that's what I was going to be doing on the weekend, is going through what are some of these fundamentals. And of course, these can change, but my best guess, here's what I got so far. So if I look at my relationships, what am I going to do every day? Daily, I send a good morning text or a message to my mom, my dad, my sister, and my kids. Now, my son lives with me, so I get up every morning, I make coffee with him, send him on his way. I check in with my kids every day about their day. And I do have my little self-love practice that I do. Every single day, this is what I do. Weekly, I have phone calls with my mom, my dad, my sister, my cousin. I have a day each week with my kids to just spend that one-on-one time. And then I'm going to reflect on how things are going. How do I feel about this bucket of my life? You know, what do I want to change? What's working? What's not? My health. What are my daily practices for my health, right? My physical activity. I have this little 4-minute thing I do. My sleep, meditation, eating my food, journaling. All of these things work for my physical, mental, emotional health for me. But I've got my list. These are fundamental building blocks that if I do these every single day, they are going to move me to the level of health that I want. Weekly, I'm going to review my training journal for like the different little races and projects and things I've got on the go so I can see where I'm at. And of course, reflection, what's working, what's not, what can I adjust? But what about your business? What can we do in our business, daily, weekly, quarterly, all of those things that are these fundamental pieces that are going to help us move forward? Daily, nurture 10 connections, make 10 new connections. Every day I have a call with Patty. We do our Patty and Georgie show. And then of course, client work. When I was going through this, what I realized was the fundamental things that help me with my business are number 1 and number 2. And I had not done those as consistently as they needed to be done. These things require there's no funnels, there's no technology, it's not really a strategy. I mean, you say technology if I'm talking on the phone or sending messages, but they don't require, I don't need to learn anything new for those. I know if I do those top 2 things, my business is growing. It has to. And these are the kinds of fundamentals that we often want to avoid or get out of as quickly as possible. You know, and it doesn't have to be a big deal. I'm thinking, wow, look at the people I have on my Facebook page or in my LinkedIn profile. How well do I really know them? Literally, like nurturing those connections could literally be, hey, we've been friends on here for a long time. Looks like I haven't reached out in about 3 years. I just want to touch base and see how you're doing and what you're up to. And I can be selective with who I'm doing that. I can do 10 of those a day. 10 new connections could be done on social media, could be done on phone calls, any number of ways. And the reality is, it doesn't take that long to do those 2 things. Not like at all. And I know it is going to have one of the biggest impacts on my business if I continue working those. My morning calls, that kind of thing. So now what am I going to do every week? So what are my weekly things? I'm going to do those every day. I'm going to review this tracking sheet that we have set up. How many invitations have I sent? How many assessments have we done? You know, how many calls have been booked? What are the results of those things? Bookkeeping needs to be done weekly so that I'm always up to date. Review and plan for next week. Every week I do our little Facebook event for the Georgie Patty Show. And your stuff's going to be different. And you don't have to include every little thing, but what are kind of those fundamental pieces for you in your business that are really going to help you? And these are the action steps. Like there's things to do here. Monthly, I reconcile my bank accounts. I'm going to review the monthly results in relation to kind of the quarterly and annually goals that I might have. I also decided that it's a pretty good idea for me to kind of have our guest list for the month for our show. Reduces some stress, allows me to promote it better. That's a good thing that I could put on this list. Now, there comes a time we don't do the show anymore. Obviously, these are not fundamentals anymore. They're off the list. And then quarterly, maybe you file your GST, review your quarterly results in relation to your annual goals. Like I'm really a huge fan of tracking and reflection and knowing where I am so I can figure out what's working and what's not. And I believe that's a real fundamental piece to operating your business. Because if you're not doing that, how do you know when to make changes? How do you really know what's working? And I think when we can look at those things, that's often a really big motivator to take action. Oh, I say this is my purpose. I say this is the work I want to do in the world. These are the results that I'm looking for. These are kind of some of the outcomes I want. If I'm not constantly tracking those things, I'm ignoring them. And all of a sudden it's a year later and I was like, oh yeah, I wonder what happened. I have no clue because I haven't paid attention. And these are fundamentals, fundamental things that if you start doing these things, you are going to get better at getting the results that you want. And I do, like I say, I did these for all my buckets. So all my buckets have, their daily things, and a lot of stuff overlaps. So it might look like, oh my gosh, you do all of those things in a day. Well, yeah, because that just becomes my life, because I'm doing stuff that I love, because these are the things that really matter to me. So these aren't extra things that I have in or things that I dread doing. These are the buckets of my life that make my life what it is. these create the moments that I look forward to. My magic lives in these buckets. And so if I can set myself up to do more of what matters to me in a way that's going to allow me to live my purpose, share my work, have the relationships with the people that I want, be healthy, and be able to continue to learn more about myself and get knowledge, because I really love that stuff. And all of that, my life is going to be pretty freaking amazing. This isn't going to seem like terrible work that I'm doing. It's awesome. But until I break it down and look at it, I was like, okay. And I like a framework. I like a bit of structure. As much as I like freedom, I also like this bit of knowing here's where I am. People call, you get opportunities. Does it fit my buckets? Yes or no? Like I know what to do. I'm not aimlessly wandering around. It's gotta fill a bucket. So then my question to you then is, what are you going to do this week? What's the actual action that you're going to do this week, instead of just staying in motion? Again, motion is important, but it needs to be followed by action. Create your fundamentals. It's a fun exercise. And that's the end of my slideshow for the day. That's
awesome.
And your list doesn't have to look like my list. I almost had a little bit of a moment. Do I share what my things look like? Because I don't want you to think that your list has to look like my list, or that you have to do the things that I do. It really, really, really is about taking that time, going through the priorities for you, what your buckets look like, why those buckets are important to you, the results that you want in those buckets, and then creating your own list of kind of fundamentals and daily actions, other than making new connections and nurturing your old ones. I really believe that should be on everybody's business daily. It's a fundamental piece of business, and reflection and review. I think that's also could be on everybody's list of things to do. But beyond that, you create your own stuff and test it, check it out, see what works. Yeah, so questions. All right, where do you find 10 new people every day? Oh my gosh, we let the internet that's one way. Those requests you get in your inbox, those things work really well. And I think also this becomes the fun piece of it too, and that link between when you love what you do, often your clients and the people that you want to work with, you like them too, and you're interested in the same kind of things. So you can be in groups with these kinds of people, and we were like, oh, I really liked that post. I really liked what they said. I'm at the grocery store and you're talking to people. Hey, that's really awesome, right? It's that space of just reaching out to people. But yeah, simplest, easiest way to find 10 people, internet, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, name your place, right? Different groups, meet up, and then we go back into the real world. There could be networking things, provided that it fits within your buckets and you know who you're looking for, and you kind of got these same kind of interests. And often we think that it's always about, I'm going after business stuff, right? So for me, I love all things about, purpose and that kind of stuff. So people who are interested in purpose or your why, probably going to have something to talk to there. So I have some Google alerts set up for like purpose and why discovery and entrepreneurship and meaning of life and a bunch of different things I'm interested in. So when I get my little daily list of Google alerts for the stuff that has it, like the other day I got one about purpose, and this lady wrote this really cool article. I'm like, hey, I really like your article. Hi, my name's Georgie. I really liked your article, right? So I'm constantly adding people based on similar interests, the work that I do, and the conversations become easier. Like imagine reaching out to someone where you're interested in what they're doing, right? It's becomes a lot more simple. And then because it's not, I think it's about shifting your mindset away from I'm going after a customer, I'm trying to get a sale, I want them to get on my assessment list. This is that piece of slowing down. This is that piece of recognizing that things take time. Because the reality is, if you're talking to 20 people a day, do you really think that the question of, oh, what do you do is not going to come up? And especially when you're talking to people that are kind of, let's say if you're into leadership and they're into leadership, you start to have like these normal human conversations where we talk about, well, how are things going for you in that space? Pretty good, but I'm kind of struggling here or there. Oh, I totally get it. That's actually why I created this assessment. If you're interested, oh, that'd be great, right? These things happen very, very organically a lot of the time. And especially if you're doing the fundamentals consistently, you constantly are sowing and reaping. But it takes a little bit of time, especially if you haven't talked to anybody for a long time. It gets a little more challenging because it's like, oh, your timeline might go for a little bit, or you could up the number of people you talk to. If you got nothing else to do, why not talk to people? Because those are going to be your fundamental things for getting people in. It could also look like, again, when you know who you're talking to, people that run groups that have your people in there. Start nurturing relationships with those people. See how you can offer things to them, be of service to them, and be okay with saying, hey, I see you run this group of people. Looks like we kind of have some similar interests. I have something that might be of value to your group. Could we get on a phone and talk and see if it would be a fit? Right? Simple, easy question, straightforward, to the point. This is what I'm thinking here. So I would way rather that approach than, oh, this looks like my group. Let me just fake talk for a while till I can find my opportunity to slide in. That's gross too, right? So it's totally fine to say, saw your group, loved your group, same interest. I might have something that might be a fit, not even sure it's something that you do. Could we have a conversation about it? Basically, I'm curious. I want to explore the options. Worst case scenario, maybe I'll meet a cool person. Best case scenario, I get to do a talk to this group of people. So it's about just that consistency of looking. Like I say, Google Alerts is great because you get lots of, if you're running out of, I don't know, kind of stuff, cruising social media. I often find for me too, just in my daily life, like if I read a great article, something will pop up and I reach out like, hey, love this article you wrote, saw you written that you were in this article, heard you on a podcast. It doesn't, most people will respond, some people don't, that's okay. You're still doing something, you're actually taking action. So that would be my suggestion for new people. I mean, there's lots of people in the world. If you get really stuck and we're back into the world, just go to the grocery store, talk to people at the grocery store. It's fine. You never know who you'll find. Now we kind of wait in lineups. You talk to people in lineups. That's what I do. Just talk to people. But you can definitely be more strategic. And I think it's way easier today, like I say, with the internet. But first you got to know, what do you care about? What's your work? No need to randomly do this, but really know your buckets. So
I think this is where it's really helpful. I know for me, kind of listening in on this stuff, it's like, oh, just go and talk to people. I'm like, that it's really helpful to have that clarity about purpose and mission and what's important to you, right?
exactly.
It's kind of it's a feeling of taking up space in the world, right?
Exactly.
It's like yeah, this is me, and I'm here, and this is the thing that I do, and I have confidence and conviction that I am in the right place, that I'm not um, being a fakey phony, or I'm not trying to make something work that doesn't really fit, right? It's that authenticity, and there's something very solid about that space when you find it.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, even if you don't like talking to people, let's say you love old books. So you visit your old bookstore and there's people else browsing in the same section as you are. It's often very easy to talk to those people. If they say something to you, oh, hey, have you read this book? Oh, can you recommend this book? It becomes an easy conversation. And it's not like you have to go to like, hey, my name is Georgie, here's my card. It doesn't I really also believe in letting things naturally happen, which they do. But I have met people like that you wouldn't even think about. Like when I went to Nepal and I wanted to go because someone told me I should go get all these essential oils and different things for helping with the trip or whatever. So I go to the sage shop, the lady working there. So I'm telling her what I'm doing. And she's like, oh my gosh, I have a friend who's from Nepal and he lives in Vancouver. I'm like, that would be amazing. So she hooks me up with him. We start talking. She and I have some similar interests. We become friends. And this was like 7 years ago. So you never, it's again, I think it's these same similar interest kind of things. And they happen. And then being willing to extend the thing. Oh, hey, connect with me on Facebook. Here's my phone number. Would love to talk more. Those kinds of things, you do start to meet people and get different connections and get connected to their networks of people as well, because you never know who people know. It happens a lot of chapters. I love to read, so I typically meet a lot of people at the bookstores. But even there was a local lady, independent writer, and I love supporting um, book writers and the fact that they're going to sit there and do a book signing and I'm all in, and so it's the conversations. Oh, tell me about your book. I'm going to buy your book, but tell me about it, because I think just the fact that you're sitting here is great. And sure enough, it's this inspirational thing about her story and what she's doing. I'm like, oh, I would love to talk to you more. I have this little space in New West. I like to bring in people. Maybe we could have a conversation, see if it would be a fit for you. Oh, that'd be great. Here's my number. Oh, here, take an extra book, have a workbook, whatever. So I think when we're doing our life, lots of opportunities show up, and also with our interest in our buckets, you know, those are great places to find people, because often the best people we work with are interested in a lot of the same things we are. I love the ultra running community. I love volunteering there. I meet lots of people doing the things I love to do, because I need people. I need people in my business. So where I gather them from could be really from anywhere. And I can be super strategic if I'm like, okay, I know I'm going 10, I'm hitting social media today or whatever to find 10 new people I can reach out to, or articles, whatever. And I'm going to use that as my starting platform for people I haven't connected to in a while, just to see what happens. It's easy, right? It's like low hanging fruit. I don't have to go far for that. I don't have to do anything. It's right there. Um, but yeah, I think that's why that clarity about what matters to me. Where do I want to spend my time? What are my values? What do I believe? What's my purpose? That's kind of the pools I want to swim in.
I think there's an element in there of enjoyment, right? It's like when you're living your life and doing your thing and doing stuff that you enjoy. Like I often say that the best marketing is the marketing that you'll actually do. It's something that you'll enjoy doing, right? So,
Exactly.
so it's kind of like if you're going to go out to network somewhere, why not go out to network in a way that fits with you? Because there's so many different ways to meet people. Like go to a class or a workshop that you actually want to take.
Mm-hmm.
versus, I see a lot of people just kind of um, associating networking with going to business networking events, which is one way to do it. Like, it's great. At least, the people you meet there are interested in business in some way. But I know a lot of people kind of grit their teeth through it. It's not something that they actually enjoy doing. When they would be just as well served, maybe even better served, to go to yoga class and talk to people there.
Exactly.
It's like, we sometimes forget that there can be a connective link in between the people that we're here to serve and the people that we actually encounter, right? And it's this idea of talking about what you do in terms of who you help. You might not be helping the person that you have the conversation with. They might not be a potential client for you. But when you look at, each of us knows an average of, with social media, it's ridiculous. It's like 600
Oh,
people.
it's crazy.
Like, that's where the links and the threads come from. It's, yeah.
Exactly. Well, if you're like a wellness practitioner, a wellness coach, and you're at a yoga class and you're talking to the person next to you, that person next to you may have a friend who's like, yeah, my friend, she really wants to get healthy and she really wants to come to yoga class, but she's kind of embarrassed to come. Maybe you could help her. Just maybe, because those are your people, And if you do class, I love the classes thing too, because typically our people take classes. I've met, like, honestly, lots of opportunities happen through taking classes and courses that I'm interested in. But through those events, I've gotten speaking engagements. I've gotten people signed up for working with me from being just in those kinds of environments, doing the things that I like to do and I want to do. And so do my people.
Yeah.
It's, I think we often don't look at that as networking. We think only of networking as I have to go to these business networking events where everybody's there looking for clients, which is kind of funny. Um, and they're super useful too, but there's also other ways where when we're doing our life, it feeds our business, because our business is also just, it's part of our life. And for us, we're doing work we love to do. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm doing a job I hate. I love it. And
It's really interesting. Joe and I went curling a few years ago. We thought we'd try out curling, right? So we're in this, we join a beer league kind of thing, and we're surrounded by all these people. And it was just so fascinating for me. Like, nobody there was self-employed. Nobody. Like, they all went and they worked somewhere else. Like, these were not the circles that we usually run in, right?
yeah,
And people are just, but they're talking about their life and they're talking about their kids. They're talking about going on trips. They're talking about retirement. They're talking about downsizing their house or finding a house or helping their kids buy a house, right? And I'm like, okay, yesterday I was at a networking event and there must have been 4 mortgage brokers, 3 insurance people, and a bunch of realtors, right? Like, these guys go to networking events, business networking events, where they are almost guaranteed to meet somebody who does exactly what they do. And I'm like, they are all missing the boat. They have to go curling.
they have to, right?
It's like, it's just conversation, right? And it comes up about, oh, we're just, we're selling a house, but it's, you're doing something that's fun, and you're putting yourself into an environment with actual people who know other people, and who, when they're not curling, they go bowling. And I'm like, wow. And it's just like, and I know that there's realtors and mortgage brokers going to networking events because they think that they have to. And it's like, there can be better ways to meet your people. And if you like curling or you like bowling, that could be fun, or whatever it is that you like to do. If it's sailing, just do the thing that's fun for you. You can meet some people, and the conversation about what you do comes up kind of naturally in between what your grandkids are up to and the new restaurant that you just tried out, that kind of stuff.
It's so, so true. If I think of some really successful people that I know, a lot of their, I mean, almost all their business comes from the relationships they build with other human beings. And a lot of times it's through the social clubs or things they're involved in. And I think this is where that piece of knowing who your clients are and where are they hanging out. This is that kind of piece of that. This is nothing to do with how old they are, what sex they are, what city they live in, all of those normal demographics that we're looking for. But really, when we look at what are the things they like to do, where are they? What are those character pieces of people? And often, I think, especially in the work that we do, we like a lot of those same things. So it's actually fun, enjoyable, and can often fill multiple buckets when we're hanging out in those places. And we find people, like you say, it's such a perfect thing for, like, the mortgage broker, real estate kind of thing was such a good example. And there's no pressure, right? There's zero pressure because it's just a conversation.
Right? I got a note here. Somebody's heard me talk before. Did you talk about the realtor that hung out in the bar? Yeah, that's. Want me to tell a story?
Tell a story. We love stories. Yes.
Yeah. Like it's kind of related to what we're talking about here, but a long time ago on a planet far away, I lived in this little community, and my partner at the time then and I had this trailer that we had fixed up, and we were going to sell our trailer. And we asked the fellow that, this is how networking works, right? We asked the fellow that helped us fix the trailer up if he could recommend a realtor. And he's like, yeah. He says, I know a great realtor. And we're like, okay, do you have his card? Do you have his number or whatever? And he says, no, don't have his card. But hey, if you go to the pub, he'll either be, if it's in the evening, he'll be in the pub, and if it's in the day, he'll be in the coffee shop. Almost guaranteed. Hey, let's go there for coffee, and we'll meet him, right? So we go there. Sure enough, he's there, right? And it's just like, so we have a cup of coffee with him, talk about the real estate or whatever. He comes over to our place. He gives us the whole dog and pony show and fill in the forms and tell us how it works, plants a sign in the window or the yard or whatever, right? And it's just, and then now that I know him, I see him in the pub all the time. I see him in the coffee shop, and I'm thinking, this is the laziest realtor in the world, because he's just hanging out at the coffee shop at the pub all day long. How come he's not like going door to door, knocking on doors, or why isn't he in the office on the phone, or why isn't he walking around in his power suit? All this stuff, right? Anyhow, sells the house, we move. Long story short, ran off with another realtor. So my next partner was a realtor. So I go to the office with him. I start managing his office, and they get these books, real estate books with stats and stuff in them. And I look at the stats. Wouldn't you know it, the laziest realtor in the world was number one. Seriously. But he was just super smart, right? Because he's like, he went where the people were. The conversations were easy, and everybody knew him. Like, the people who knew people hung out at that coffee shop and that pub. And it's like, I'm sure he did official realtor stuff at some point, but he was out and about talking to people. It was just like what Georgie was saying earlier. It's like, nurture 10 connections, make 10 new ones. And it's like, you can do that over beer or a cup of coffee. Like, that works.
That works. Exactly. Yeah. And how fun. He's probably like, they're like, oh, what's your marketing strategy? I drink coffee and I drink beer. Works. Yeah.
It's like, he's actually really smart, really strategic,
Yeah.
But you're right. It was enjoyable for him to have those conversations.
Exactly.
Like, to be involved, right?
When I think about, my kids, when my kids were younger, my son was in hockey, my daughter was in tennis. Those became the circles. Those people know people. We all know what everybody does. Oh, at that time we had a landscape company. People needed landscaping. Who do you think they called? Us. They knew people who needed landscaping. They referred them to us. those who had like commercial businesses and stuff, or developers that, right, the connections that it's through these often social places, because I think this is what people get to know you. People get to know you, people get to like you, and people get to trust you.
Exactly.
Therefore, they are more willing to either give you their business or refer their people to you.
Exactly.
And so sometimes our networking events don't have to just be networking events. And again, this is where those people skills come in. Those, how do I talk to people? How do I connect with people? How do I ask questions to people? How do I build real, true, heart-centered connections with other human beings? Because when we do that, no matter where we are, it's the opportunity for those people who know people to think of you. And I guarantee when you make connections from that space, you're way more memorable. Oh, I remember that really nice person that was there who did this. Let me go look her up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it's often the thinking outside of the box ways of being, and goes back to that, who are you authentically? How do you show up? How do you live your life? And if you think about it, if you are more comfortable at the curling rink or at the gym or in those kind of spaces, and then as soon as you feel like you need to put on a power suit and look different than you are, show up different than who you really are in your core, where do you think you actually have a better chance of making an impact and connecting with people? When you show up as your real self, or when you show up as your made up, mask on, doing my best to fit into what I think I'm supposed to do space?
Yeah. And I think too, it requires some confidence and conviction in your work. You need to be good at what you do, because a good reputation can circulate fairly quickly, but so can a shitty reputation.
Exactly.
Like if that realtor was ripping people off, that strategy would not have worked.
It would work the opposite way. Well, I'll
Exactly.
tell you, there's a realtor that hangs out at the coffee shop all the time. That is not who you want. Avoid him at all costs.
Exactly.
That's where you'll know him, because he's in the coffee shop or the pub. That's not the guy you want.
Yeah.
And this is that point of slowing down, creating valuable work in the world, knowing what your message is and what you want to say, and all of those pieces. It's the things that is kind of opposite to what I think we're led to believe right now. But that shitty lead magnet that nobody reads, that says more about you than you might even realize, because it really comes down to, if you are okay with knowing intentionally you're just throwing up a shitty lead magnet and knowing that it's shitty, where else are you doing that in your life? And you're wondering why the results in your life aren't the way you want them to be. Just look, if I'm okay with that, and if you are, great, but just make sure that that's a reflection of who you really are, because guaranteed it's showing up other places too. And then if you want to create something that's a little less shitty, it's quite okay to say, yeah, I was planning on launching this thing in 2 days and I feel like it needs a little more work. So what I'm going to do is, maybe I'm going to clear some of the things off my calendar that aren't that important, that don't fill my buckets. And I'm going to spend some time creating something that I feel good about putting up, even if nobody reads it. But I'm okay knowing that I put some time and some effort, and what's showing up on there has value to it. And I think this is where, when we wonder, well, how can I find more time? I feel like I'm so overwhelmed. How am I going to do all the things I need to do? Take a look at your calendar and see, are you doing the things with the buckets, or are you not? But it really, really makes a difference. Oh yeah, sales conversation books.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for
Thanks for the
prompting to go do
reminder.
that because we promised that we would share that. Okay,
Yes.
I have two recommendations based on the kind of sales that you're looking for. If you are independent, solopreneur, service-based business, kind of similar to the kinds of people that Georgie and I work with, a fellow named Michael Port wrote a book called Book Yourself Solid. Fabulous book, really great, covers more than just sales conversation, but he has a really nice structured approach to delivering sales conversations. So this is if you work with kind of like the general public kind of people, and you're going to have a conversation about selling your services to them. If you sell into larger organizations, if you work with corporations, if you work with larger businesses, there's a woman named Jill Conrath, Conrath with a K. She's got a ton of free stuff on her website. It's all like there's tons. Like you probably get like almost everything you need for free, basically. And she wrote a couple of books, and the one that I can remember right now is called Selling to Big Companies or something like that. It's super freaking obvious, but she's got some really, really good suggestions in there for getting your voicemails answered, how to approach people, that kind of thing, where you're selling something into a larger organization. So those are the two that spring to mind for me. If you're intrigued with what Georgie and I talk about in terms of like the assessment, I don't know anyone who teaches this thing that we teach. I've seen people use it. I've seen people use it more in a at the front of a room, kind of doing an assessment with the audience. I know in life coaching schools, sometimes they say, do a wheel of life. It can be a good way to introduce clients to the work that you do, that kind of thing. But I don't know anyone that's taken the assessment the way we do it and put it together in the structure that we offer. So if you're interested in that, come to our workshop on Friday.
Totally.
Do you have any other recommendations, Georgie?
Yeah, the two books I would recommend. One is How to Sell Anything by Harry Brown. And it's actually, this book was published after his death, but he wrote all this stuff, I think it's like in the 60s. And it's really, it's heart-centered, how to have human conversations, put people first kind of thing. And then I love The Go-Giver by Bob Burg for creating referrals and things like that. Really, really good. So from the kind of that human side of things, I would say those two would be my recommendation.
Awesome.
Yeah. Old. Bob Burg's not dead and old, but the first one is dead, but really good.
Yeah, well, he's the one where the whole idea of know, like, and trust comes. That's originally a Bob Burg.
Bob Burg thing.
Yeah.
So.
I often make the attribution, but yes.
Which workshop on Friday?
We are doing a workshop on Friday.
Yes, we are hosting an all-day workshop on Friday. Who is the author of the first book? Michael Port.
Yeah.
So, someone got their 7 Habits book. Working on finishing business. Your book. That's right.
Actually, I've a sales conversation outlined in the U-shaped business.
Yeah, the U-shaped
business.
We've evolved
since then.
That would be a good book to read too.
Yes. So bad. I've had people interview me about my book, and I'm recommending Michael Port.
Yeah. That's really funny. And I think it's true, right? Because I think we're looking, because we're always getting information from other people and things like that too. It's not, we often don't think about ourselves first. So, yeah, we can put the link for our workshop is on, I do have an event on Facebook today. And it's 10kprogram.com/workshop. You can find out more information about that. It's going to be awesome. Today's session makes me think I really should make changes. And it's this reflection. The reflection piece is really big, and I'm a firm believer that for all intents and purposes, we have one life right now. So how are you using it and how are you living it? Oh, your thing went just to us.
Oh,
Um, and yeah, and you have permission to make changes in your life. You get that permission slip too, and you can make them anytime you want to. When it's not working or you want to do something differently, you have permission to do that now, because you're literally not guaranteed beyond now anyway. So I'm a real firm believer of taking that little bit of time to go through and figure out what really matters to you. How do you really want to show up in the world? Are you willing and ready to step into the genius that you are and bring that into the world? And if you need help, that's exactly what we're here for, because we believe in the people that have that, and we believe that we can help you bring that into the world in an easier, less stressful way, because it's definitely more fun together, and it's definitely easier when you have a little bit of a framework or a structure or a guide, right? Guides are great. I'm a big fan of guides. I like guides to take me into the mountains because I don't know what I'm doing in it. I would prefer not to get lost and die. So we can do that for you too.
there's a tagline. There's a tagline for your guides.
That's
Don't get
right.
lost. Bye.
Don't get lost and die. Exactly. So if you don't want to die with your business still in you, hire a guide.
Here we go. Love it.
It's possible. So that's all I got to say today. That's it.
Hey, what a great start to the week. I love it when you do the presentation. I get to learn stuff too. It's like, now I'm like, oh, I need to put together all those pieces of paper that you have.
So a lot of hearts and flowers this weekend. A lot of hearts and flowers. So I'm thinking.
Awesome.
So,
all right. Well, we're 4 minutes over time. I think we should
wrap it up.
See you tomorrow. Same bad time.
Same bat channel.